Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your long-lost host, Nick Schreck, and joining me tonight, guys, is the fan favorite, Nick Walsh. Walsh, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Shrek. I feel good. I don't look good. I'm unshowered. It's raining. Actually, I kind of feel pretty gross. But you know what? Let's talk some football, dude. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. It's great to be back on the podcast. I know I've made sporadic appearances here, but I know you say you don't feel good. I'll tell you what, you sound like the prime fantasy football god getting ready for the week. You're not showered. You're kind of just hanging around. Rainy day out there in San Fran. You're ready for some football, so let's do it. Let's dive right in. But I'm premature, of course. And first, guys, we are sponsored by No Halftime. No Halftime app isn't your typical fantasy sports service. You get to create one-on-one fantasy matchups. Use code LTFF100 for a 100% deposit bonus. And with that, Walsh, let's go into the Week 11 games, and then we'll finish with reader questions. So first game here, we were just talking about him on the pre-podcast, Marcus Mariota. We're going to start with the Tennessee Titans, the Indianapolis Colts. Marcus Mariota has been everything that I never expected him to be this year. For the last 6 quarterbacks to face the Colts have posted a top 5 fantasy week. Indy's yielded multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight games. Mariota is going to continue to be hot here, right?
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. And I talked about this a little bit on the podcast with Vinny the other day, where his schedule gets a little bit rougher. He after this matchup, and then he has a bye week, week 13. So I think the crazy Mariota heater is going to be over pretty soon, but it's definitely not over going into this one. The Colts are a bad team defensively, and Mariota's just been great. He's been a touchdown monster. So definitely keep riding that.
Absolutely. Ride Mariota into the ground, guys. And speaking of hot Titans, take that whatever way you guys want, listeners. DeMarco Murray, he has been legit as well. Colts have given up the league's 8th most receiving yards to backs. Murray is 7th in the NFL in running back targets and 4th in receptions. He's going to have another great week as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no two ways about it. In the passing game, who are the guys that you like there?
Delaney Walker, I think, is an obvious one. Colts are the league worst against tight ends, and they've just consistently given up yards, touchdowns, receptions. But that's an obvious pick. And Rashard Matthews, how do you not like him? He enters week 11 with 6 touchdowns over his last 6 games. The Colts are bad. Why can't it continue?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the 2 guys that you need to be on, and you really like. It's weird to call Rashard Matthews a must start, but like you need to start him in this game. The matchup's just too good.
I'll tell you what, man, what a time to be alive. Donald Trump is president. There were clowns in the street, and we're telling you to start Rashard Matthews. So it has been a crazy 2016 ride so far. Is there anybody else on the Titan side of the ball for you?
No, that's it for me.
All right, let's flip on over. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts, and we'll start at the QB position with Andrew Luck. If you own Luck, you're starting him. The Titans defense has permitted 5 straight top 12 quarterback weeks, according to RotoWorld. So you own Luck, you're playing him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like basically any of the Colts that like you would want to play, I think you should this week. So Luck obviously is 2 weapons: T.Y. Hilton and Dante Moncrief. Moncrief, his splits in particular with Luck and without Luck are insane, just because he's so touchdown dependent, and Luck is a guy who moves the ball more and actually gets touchdowns to him. So Moncrief is a great play. T.Y. has been a target monster all year. That's going to continue this week. What do you think about Frank Gore?
I'll tell you what, if you listen to, I think, any podcast I've been on in 2016 that's mentioned Frank Gore, I always say that I hate him and I'm always wrong. But again, I have to like Frank Gore here. He's got 20-plus touches in 5 of his last 7 games. He totaled 83 yards and a touchdown on 22 touches when they met in week 7. I think you're playing Gore if you own him.
I think we should rename him Frank Floor because he has such a high floor. That was the best joke that I could think of, and it was really, really not good.
I don't know, man. That could be an opening line right there. Frank Floor. Frank Floor.
Frank Floor. Yeah, dude. Do you like Jack Doyle at all too? Because I think I'm on Jack Doyle a little bit. Is that stupid?
I don't think it's stupid. I think if you wanted to stream one of the tight ends, he's the one to do. Tennessee giving up a tight end touchdown in 3 of their last 4 games. I probably wouldn't do it, but I'm super risk adverse, and we've seen where that's gotten me this year. Not very far. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. If you're streaming
Yeah,
one, it's Doyle.
I just think like he's like Dwayne Allen's going to be back and like that's fine, but I don't think it really affects Doyle's usage too much. And he's really touchdown dependent as most tight ends are in a game where the Colts implied point total is like 27 and a quarter points. That's a lot.
Yep.
I think, you know, if you're going to play a tight end like that, it should be in this kind of game.
Fair enough. I'm cool with it, Walsh. I don't think it's crazy. I mean, we'll see what happens. But do you have anybody else on the Indy side?
No, I'm good.
All right, let's call it. I am going to take the Tennessee Titans.
I'm going to take the Colts.
All right, the first of likely many splits. Moving on, Walsh, let's go over here to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. Let's start with Jacksonville. Blake Bortles, been a bit of a roller coaster ride, something that we're pretty familiar with here at Let's Talk Fantasy Football.
Correct.
He comes in to week 11 with multiple touchdown passes in 3 straight games. The Lions' pass defense is pretty bad. I don't know that I'd have the guts to tell anyone to play Blake Bortles, but he's had worse matchups.
Oh, dude, I love Blake Bortles this week.
Yeah.
He's continues to be a garbage time hero. Like he has been an awful real life quarterback. And that's like not something that's new. Like people, because of his fantasy production last year, people thought he was good. He's not good, or at least he's not good yet. But that doesn't matter because they're going to be down against a bad passing defense. And Bortles is going to like basically have like 6 points through the first 3 quarters and then finish with like 24. So it's just like I think I mentioned this with Vinny on the podcast. There've been 2 quarterbacks over the past 3 weeks with more fantasy points than Blake Bortles, and they're Mariota and Aaron Rodgers. That's it. So he's going really under the radar as someone who's really been a good fantasy producer the past couple of weeks because he's actually #bad.
#bad. I'll tell you what, Blake Bortles sounds like the garbage time king that everyone hopes Jay Cutler would be for them, but we know he's a constant disappointment. We'll get to him. But all right, Blake Bortles, there you have it. Walsh, what do you think about the running game here?
Yeah, you can't trust it, right? Okay. I mean, we thought last week was Ivory week, and it wasn't. So, yeah, I'm not playing either.
Yep, I agree. Low floors, low ceilings. I don't want any part of either of them. Looking at the wide receivers, the Allen twins. Allen Robinson finally looking like his old self a little bit, making some nice grabs, 12-plus targets in 3 straight games. If you own him, you're starting him, right?
Yeah, no surprise. As Bortles been producing, so too has Robinson. Do you have any opinions on Lee and Hearns? I'm not sure. I keep going back and forth on like which one of them, if either, is actually playable.
I don't think I like either of them. I think if I was going to roll a dice, it'd probably be on Lee. Just because Hearns he's at, with a touchdown in just 2 and 9 weeks, only 2 games above 50 yards since week 2. I'd rather roll a dice on Lee.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Lee's like borderline playable this week, just because they're going to have to throw the ball a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if we're expecting Bortles to have a nice week, they got to go somewhere. So 50-50 shot, I guess. Let's talk tight end real quick. Julius Thomas. He hasn't cleared 30 yards since week 2. I don't know if that's right. What do you think here?
I think he's, a streamer. He's very touchdown dependent. We know that, but I think the chances of him getting in the end zone against the Lions, I believe they've only prevented touchdowns to tight ends on 2 of the weeks so far this year. Okay. So they're letting tight ends in the end zone a lot. Julius Thomas, we know that's where he gets his fantasy points from. So yeah, he's a streamer this week. All
right. Anybody else in the Jag side of the ball?
Nah.
All right, let's flip it. Let's talk about the Lions. Let's start here with Matthew Stafford. He's played well overall, but the Jaguars have held 8 of 9 quarterbacks that they face to 270 yards or fewer. Are you starting Stafford this week?
I don't think he's a bad start. I think the touchdown expectation is pretty high. I don't think he's a must start either. So if you're in a deeper league where maybe he's a guy you've been riding, don't worry about it. But he's not he's not like the go out and pick him up streamer of the week. I think Bortles will probably have more fantasy points, even though the Jags are going to lose.
Fair enough. I agree. Let's talk running game. I guess Theo Riddick here. He's the clear-cut lead back, I think. He's got 15 or more touches in six consecutive games and ranks 6th among NFL running backs in receptions. I'm okay playing Riddick as a running back too.
Yeah, I think he's a great start. He's also a guy I've been ending up on a lot in daily this week, just because he's not priced up as much as some of these other guys, the elite guys. But I think the production is likely going to be similar in this game. And he's game script independent. He gets that passing down work, so it's very safe floor for Theo Riddick.
Yep, absolutely. Let's talk wide receivers, Walsh, or really just a receiving game in general. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Ebron. What are your thoughts on the whole receiving game here for the Lions?
I mean, you can't start Marvin Jones anymore. He's just not
Yep.
getting the targets. Golden Tate's, completely taken over as the number one wide receiver here. I think he's the start if you're going to make one. And then I like Ebron this week. The Jags aren't really, they're not vulnerable against the tight end, but they're not shutting them down. And Ebron's getting consistent targets from week to week. So I think he's a nice start, and I'm actually going to start him against you. So
I know
suck
you.
it.
I know you are, and it sucks because as I look more and more at the stats, I'm like, all right, I get it. I get Walsh's play of Ebron. That sucks. So it was definitely one of those oh shit moments as I did more research and I was like, oh well, he's a good play. I have to say it on the podcast, but you know, I hope he flops. I hope I'm wrong this week. I hope Ebron's a bust, but I don't think he will be. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, I am taking the Lions here, Walsh.
Yeah, me too. I can't pick the Jaguars.
Nope. Nope. Sorry, Blake Bortles. On to game 3 here. We got Tampa Bay at Kansas City Chiefs. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Chiefs fan, let's start there. Alex Smith. I think he's okay. He's not like your ideal start, but Bucks are giving up monster weeks to Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, and Carson Palmer, and they're 16th in pass defense. He's never my ideal start because I don't think Alex Smith wins games for anybody. But if you want to use him, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to, just with the Macklin injury. Like, they showed that they weren't even really going to try and replace Macklin's role in the offense last week, and they basically just used a shitload of Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to be throwing the ball down the field at all. It's just, I don't, in a 2-quarterback league, sure, I don't think you really need to. Otherwise, there are a lot of other good streamers out there.
I agree. Running game, Spencer Ware. Bucks run defense has been pretty rough. And if you own Spencer Ware, you're starting him.
Yeah, Spencer Ware, and then I think I'm going to be playing a lot of Spencer Ware and Chiefs D combos in daily as well, just because he's also a little underpriced relative to the elite guys, and I like the production.
That's what I like to hear, Walsh. Music to my ears. Good news about the Kansas City Chiefs. You mentioned him before, Tyreek Hill. I think you can start Tyreek Hill here, even though we just talked about Alex Smith not necessarily slinging it. 11 touches for 101 yards last week versus Carolina. He runs over a third of his routes in the slot, where the Bucks have had some problems. So I'm fine if you're going to play Tyreek Hill this week.
Very much agreed. I did the wrong thing last week and got on Chris Conley instead of Tyreek Hill, which, like, in retrospect was really, really dumb because we know Smith likes to dink and dunk, and Tyreek Hill's routes were always going to be close to the line of scrimmage. So, like, fucking stupid mistake on my part. And, like, I very much think Tyreek Hill is a viable start anytime Macklin is out. Do you still trust Kelsey at all?
I will this week. I do. I think he's in a good spot. Again, it depends if he's going to all dink and dunk to Hill or if he's going to open it up here. He missed Kelsey in the end zone there late in the game last week. So I think the Tampa Bay defense, they've been beat up by tight ends. Falcons in week 9, Raiders in week 8. Greg Olsen beat them pretty nice. I am willing to give Kels one more shot here.
Okay, that's very fair. I don't really have an opinion either way, so I'll agree with you on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you have another option, you want to roll a dice someplace else, I'm not going to tell anybody they're wrong to do so because Kels has been, But I'm okay to roll a dice here if you want to.
Okay.
Let's talk anything else on the Chiefs. That's it, right?
No, yeah, that's it.
All right. Let's talk about the Bucks. Jameis Winston. What do you think?
Not for me this week. The Chiefs' pass D is pretty decent. The Chiefs are a 7-point favorite. I think that there are just better streamers. Kirk Cousins, Eli Manning. There's a lot of guys out there, Bortles, that are better plays.
Fair enough. Running game, we saw the return of Doug Martin. Vinny cried tears of joy when he got back on the field. He dominated the touches last week. He's going to get the workload, I think, and I think you can start Doug Martin.
Yeah, very much agreed there. It's, they're it's not an ideal matchup against the Chiefs on the road. But Doug Martin, when he's healthy, is an every week starter. Do you think Mike Evans is going to rebound from like that really weird performance where we all thought he was going to explode?
Yes, I think he'll be okay. I don't know if I necessarily expect him to explode against the Chiefs, but I think he bounces back to put up a good week. I don't know if it's the Bucks down; they're gonna be throwing the ball a lot. I think Evans will be okay against the Chiefs. They're banged up. They're getting some people back, but I think if you own Evans, you're playing him.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's worth noting too that Marcus Peters is a very good corner, but they don't shadow with him. They just kind of keep their corners on each side. So it's not something like if the Bucks are smart at all, they can scheme Mike Evans into good matchups for the whole game.
Yep, yep, I agree. So a bounce back, I don't know, crazy, but I like him. And Cameron Brate, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, not for me. Eric Berry covers the tight ends for the most part. He is very good. Chiefs are a bad matchup for him.
Yep, I agree. Anything else here on the Bucks side of the ball for you, Walsh?
No, sir. And I'm taking the Chiefs.
Hell yeah, Chiefs in Arrowhead. Sweep that bad boy through. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. Let's start with the New York Giants, Walsh. Start on Eli. You talked about him as a streamer just a few minutes ago. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eli's getting to the point where like he might be a low end like quarterback one the rest of the way going forward. I don't know a ton about his schedule, but it's just because of their inability to really do anything in the rush game. So I mean, they can't run the ball. Eli gets a lot of volume from week to week, and that's something that I like to bank on. And we know with Odell's big playability that the ceiling is also there. Yeah. So it's to me it's a no brainer to be starting Eli, and depending on the schedule, I think you can just roll with him.
All right, I like it. He's been very good at home, away a little bit less so, but that could be changing. We'll have to look at the changing of that. Odell Beckham is he's a start. The Chicago Bears have been let's say it says here they've allowed the fourth most catches and eighth most receiving yards to enemy wideouts. So I think that's got to shape up good for the Giants wide receiving game, which in turn is definitely Eli Manning. Do you trust Rashad Jennings here? You just talked about the running game. You know, he played well against Cincinnati, but
no, I mean the Bears, I believe, are allowing the third fewest yards, to running backs on the ground per week. So it's not something I'm really trying to exploit when it's, Jennings doesn't get all the touches. Yep. Anyway, it's worth noting on Beckham that, I mean, last week the Bears double and triple teamed Mike Evans like pretty hard. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do the same sort of thing, but it's not like you're going to sit Odell Beckham. No. That being said, I think it ups the value of guys like Sterling Shepard and Will Tye, who potentially could see more targets if Beckham does get all that attention there.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, especially on Tye. Shepard's more of if you believe that's the way it's going to go. So it's about to believe. But yeah, they gave up 111 yards and a touchdown to the Bucks tight ends last week because they were all over Evans. So could be big things for Will Tye. Time will tell. That's it on the Giants side of the ball. Let's talk about oh wow, I didn't even spell his name right in my notes. That's how much I think of him. I wrote K Cutler, which I guess kind of like a female's name would be accurate. I just put bad.
There you go. Yeah.
All I have is bad. So that's it on Jay Cutler, right?
Yeah, he's bad. And now he doesn't have Alshon. I don't know how this passing game is going to work out. There's only one guy I'm comfortable with, and it's Zach Miller in that passing game.
Yes. Yep. Giants defense have given up the 8th most receptions and 9th most yards to tight ends. That's a good thing. No Alshon Jeffrey. We don't know what's going to happen with Cameron Meredith here. Two targets since Cutler took over. That sucks.
Yeah, Cutler doesn't seem to care at all about throwing to Meredith. Eddie Royal is likely going to have a role here, and then Marcus Wilson got activated this week as well. I don't know how those targets are going to play out, whether there's going to be anyone who's even usable there. So, yeah, I think it's Zach Miller. And then if you want to throw a dart, like, sure, but you shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely wait and see on the receivers here for sure. And I guess Howard, they're gonna run the ball, I guess, if they're not throwing the ball. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Howard, is he's kind of back to where, he's a lead back there. It's worth noting that he did leave the last game. He said his Achilles got tight, but he's practicing fully. So it's something where it makes you a little bit nervous that maybe he's going to have to leave the game again. I don't really know, but I think he'll get the bulk of the work there, and he's a good running back, whereas Langford and Carey are not.
Yes. Yep. Howard, I mean, hey, if when he's handled 15 touches this year or more, he's scored 100 total yards 4 times and scored 3 touchdowns. So give him some volume. He's produced. So anything else in this game, Walsh?
No, who you taking?
The Giants.
Me too.
That sucks. That sucks. That sucks to say. But yeah, I definitely can't take Kate Cutler here. Let's talk Arizona Cardinals at the Minnesota Vikings. Let's start with Arizona, Walsh. Let's start QB, Carson Palmer. Minnesota's allowed just one top 16 quarterback finish over its last 8 games. They rank number 5 in pass defense. Palmer's also been kind of bad. I'm looking elsewhere.
Yeah, there's just no reason to be starting Carson Palmer at this point. There are other QBs out there have produced more. This is a bad matchup. It's really difficult to start him. The good news, though, is that Larry Fitzgerald is practicing fully after a bit of an injury scare last week, because I didn't want to have to try and decipher what the rest of the wide receivers there are going to do. Do you want to play anyone other than Larry there?
Nope. I literally in my notes wrote Fitz, and then I grouped everyone else into other wide receivers, and I won't pretend to know who's going to have a good week.
I don't think Bruce even knows what he's going to do. Like this past week, he was like, JJ Nelson is our number 2 wide receiver. And he came out and he started, and then he had that fumble. Michael Floyd ended up playing more snaps than him. They both had 6 targets. And then John Brown only played 38% of the snaps and had 4 targets. I don't know. I got no idea. Yep. I'm not going to try to.
Nope. And the only other thing here, guys, it's obvious. If you own David Johnson, you're playing David Johnson.
Yeah, not a great matchup, but who cares? He's David Johnson.
Nope. You still have to play him. On the flip side of the ball, let's talk Vikings, which I think is almost equally a wasteland. I'm going to go, I don't want any part of the running game. I don't want any part of Bradford. Diggs has looked good, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird situation where Diggs has gotten tons of volume and then also been wildly efficient on that volume, which I think is the efficiency is going to regress at some point, potentially this week. Tyrann Mathieu may be back. He's a game time decision. They're uncertain. I don't know. They haven't said really if he does play, whether he's going to shadow Diggs, who's now running 77% of his routes out of the slot. When Peterson goes into the slot, he's still Patrick Peterson, but he isn't as effective against slot receivers. He's a better outside corner. So there's a lot of moving pieces there that kind of make me nervous. But the bottom line there is that you can't not play a guy who's been getting 14 targets a game. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I agree. You do have to roll him out there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think anything about Kyle Rudolph is appealing at all?
It sucks because he's been consistent and reliable, but it's a bad matchup against the Cardinals. They're yielding league lows in catches, yards, and touchdowns. So no, I'm looking elsewhere, but he's been good. He has been good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm debating because Arizona's been really good against the tight end. They're only allowing 23 yards per game against opposing tight ends. But Rudolph did have 8 targets last week. He's very, very touchdown dependent, which you kind of simultaneously like and don't like. But I don't know. I think I'm going to stay away. But I can understand why you would play him too.
Yeah, too much risk for me. We talked about Doyle earlier. I'd rather roll him at tight end than Rudolph if I had the option between the two.
Fair enough.
I am going to take the Cardinals here.
I'll take the Vikings to get off the schneid.
All right. Split it up a little bit. Fair enough. Let's talk Buffalo at Cincinnati. And we'll start with your favorite, your call last year, Ty God.
Yeah. I think he's a very good start this week. He kind of surprisingly, I guess, has a very good floor. I believe he's had gotten at least 15 fantasy points in all of his games this year. And I think this is a sneaky game where not a lot of people are going to look at it as one that could have a lot of value. I think this game has the chance to just shoot out. it's projected closely. Cincinnati's only a 2.5-point favorite. Both of these defenses are in the bottom 10 of Football Outsiders defensive efficiency rankings, DVOA there. And I mean, it's just two teams that like really can make a lot of big plays. Shady McCoy's going to be healthy. We know AJ Green can make big plays. Buffalo's secondary, they just benched some people. Like they basically had an open competition for their cornerbacks over their bye week. This is a sneaky one, which I'm going to try and game stack a lot in DFS because I don't think their players are going to be as highly owned.
I agree. I don't think they are going to be highly owned at all. I love Ty God, like you said. And what I think I love about him is his feet. He's had at least 5 rushing attempts, 8 of 9 starts, and a rushing touchdown in 3 straight. That's awesome. So
Rex loves his feet too. Hey,
that must be
bringing back the Rex foot jokes. They're not way old or anything like that. I'm current. I swear.
I'm current. Yep, that's where we are, Walsh. Let's talk fantasy football. We're behind the times, guys. Behind the times. We've got some competition here for an opening line. We've got some good one-liners, Walsh. Let's. You talked about Shady McCoy, healthy coming out here. The Bengals gave up a big rushing day to Isaiah Crowell in week 8, Rob Kelly in week 9, even Rashad Jennings, who we don't really particularly care for. 15 for 87. I like Shady McCoy here. I think he's going to be just fine. And like you said, low owned in DFS.
Yeah, absolutely. He's also way too cheap in DFS since he's been hurt. So I'm going to be using him constantly. Do you think anything about Robert Woods?
No. He scares me. I know he had the big outburst, but he's cleared 60 yards in just 2 of 6 games without Sammy Watkins. I don't trust it. I believe more in Ty God because of his feet than I do in what's going to go on in the air.
Okay, that's very fair. I think he's like a desperation start if you need it, but you definitely shouldn't go out of your way there.
Yep. And then tight end for the Bills, Charles Clay. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not about it.
All right, cool. Anybody else on Buffalo side?
No, that's it.
All right, let's see if we can make Vinny proud. Let's talk about the Bengals. Andy Dalton. Dalton's posted top 12 fantasy results in 4 of his last 5 games. And I think we're going to see a very nice game from AJ Green and Eifert. So in turn, I expect Dalton to have a nice day here. I think he's the top 12 guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that Eifert came back and like Dalton's been doing significantly better. Eifert's great. He's a huge part of the offense. Those are I think you can start Dalton, no problem. And AJ Green is a must start. Eifert is also a must start. The question comes to when we get to the running backs, really. I think it's a Hill week.
I agree. If I'm playing one, it's Hill. Gio, I kind of think he's not really usable at this point to me.
I agree.
We just don't know. So Gio's kind of out of the picture for me. Hill, you hope for the touchdown. That's kind of, I think, always been the story recently with him. So I agree on Hill.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying with Gio, he's gotten 2 or fewer targets in 2 of the last 3 games. For a guy who gets his points in the pass game, that's completely unacceptable. So bench him for the time being, and I think you can roll with Jeremy Hill and just hope the touchdowns keep coming.
Fingers crossed. Gio, you're fired. AJ Green, Eifert, we kind of touched on them. Start them, right?
Yeah, got to.
I agree. I don't have anything else in the Bengals, do you?
No, me neither.
Give me the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm going to take the Bills. Sorry, Vinny.
Yeah, it's all right. We split, so there's that.
Yeah.
Let's talk Ravens at the Cowboys. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys, who have been exceeding, I think, even Cowboys' expectations here with their start to the season. Let's start with Dak Prescott. I'm not looking to play Dak. Only 2 of 9 quarterbacks that faced the Ravens this year finished inside the top 12 fantasy passers.
Yeah, I mean, he's got such a high floor, though. Like, he's gotten 17 or more fantasy points in, like, I forget exactly what it is. It's like 7 of the 9 games or something like that. Like, Dak is an extremely high floor guy. The Ravens defense, though, I think is, like, they're flying under the radar in that, like, most people don't consider them one of the best defenses in the league. They're number 2 by Football Outsiders metrics this year. They're the #1 rush defense by DVOA, and they're up there in pass defense. Jimmy Smith is going to miss this week, I believe, so that makes me fine with Dez. But yeah, I don't think you need to play Dak.
Yep, I agree. Like you said, great floor, but we've talked about Bortles and a couple other guys. I'd probably rather roll the dice for the upside.
Agreed.
All right, running back. We talked about how good Ravens are against the run, but if you own Ezekiel Elliott, you're playing Ezekiel Elliott, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, temper expectations maybe, but even like maybe you don't even have to do that. Zeke's been so fucking good. It's so wild, dude. He's like really, really good.
Just when you think he's done, he fucking comes back for some more.
Yeah. One thing that's just in general about this game, the over under here was 45. I feel like I want to bet the under so bad because like the Ravens defense is, generally underrated by the public, and Dallas slows down the pace of the games. I don't think this is going to be as high scoring as the betting markets seem to think it's going to be. And I think there's less fantasy production than people tend to think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there, but
no, I agree on the over under. I definitely think that it's a little high based on what we're talking about with stats and defense and everything else here. But what the hell do I know? I typically lose money when I gamble. So
fair enough.
But I trust you. You're better at this than I am, Walsh. So I'll blindly follow you. You talked about Dez. You like him with Smith. We believe he's going to miss, or is he officially out?
I want to say he's officially out, but don't quote me on it.
Yeah, that's all right. We're close enough. If you own Dez, you're starting him. 100+ yards and or a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games. So looks good. What do you think about Beasley and Witten? Anything for you?
No, not really. I'm not trying. Again, I think the Ravens defense is good, so I'm not trying to play these tertiary guys against them. I only want to play the superstars in this lineup.
I agree. Let's flip to the other side then. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. We'll start with Joe Flacco. Great week last week. Put up a bunch of points. I don't buy it. I want no part of Flacco here.
Yeah, I don't want him either. The Cowboys' pass defense isn't great, but like I said, they slowed down the pace of the game. They're just not really the best team to target fantasy players against. That being said, I think I'm going to start Kenneth Dixon against you over Terrence West. I own both of them, and I have to make the decision on one of them. I think this morning I decided it's going to be Kenneth Dixon because I believe that they're going to be playing from behind a little bit more, and Dixon does seem to have carved himself out a role in the pass game with 7 targets last week. Do you have any interest in either of them, or would you start either of them?
I really don't have any interest in either of them, mostly because I don't know what to believe. Where it was kind of like when I kind of copped out of the Cardinals' other wide receivers, where I said I won't pretend to predict who I think is going to play better. I don't really know here either. Dixon showed a bunch of life last week over the Browns, 11 touches for 80 yards. It's probably who I'd roll with, but again, I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I very much agree with you. I don't feel good about it at all, but it's a decision that I have to make. My running backs in our league are so bad, dude. They're so awful. It's really disgusting. And I was like, maybe I can make a trade, but then like my wide receiver depth sucks too. So like I'm just bad. I think I'm just really bad in that league.
I am right there with you, Walsh. I'm definitely really bad. So it's a matchup of bad and bad this week. So we're going to see who can. I think anyone who breaks 60 points, we probably have a winner. Maybe it's 65. So we're going to have to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Oh, well.
Let's talk wide receivers, Steve Smith and Mike Wallace. Smith has the highest floor. And I think probably the better matchup out of the two. So I'm cool playing Steve Smith. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you can play Steve Smith. Mike Wallace is unplayable when Smith is healthy. He had a great couple of weeks because, he was getting huge targets with Smith out. And then the first week with Smith back, we got lucky with like a 76-yard touchdown or something like that. You can't bank on Mike Wallace when Steve Smith is healthy. And I don't think you can bank on Dennis Pitta at all either, despite the fact that he gets heavy targets, because the touchdown expectancy just isn't there. They don't use him in the red zone for some reason.
Yeah, he's not turning into fantasy points for owners. So I definitely agree on Pitta and Wallace. That's all I got. Same for you, Walsh?
Yeah, and I'm going to take the Cowboys.
As am I. Sweep it on through. And with that, Walsh, let's take a quick break. We're going to hear from No Halftime, and then we're going to come right back, and we're going to jump into Pittsburgh at the Browns. All right, welcome back, guys. So you just heard from No Halftime. We hope you guys jump on the app. They've been doing an NFL ticket giveaway on Twitter, getting some emails about that. So check it out if you want a chance to win some stuff and, of course, play on No Halftime. All right, well, so let's talk Pittsburgh at the Browns, and let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben comes out, has a huge week last week, and now he gets the Browns pass defense that is pretty shitty. So if you're a Big Ben owner, I think you're very, very happy going into this week.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple things. Ben's home road splits are worse than Drew Brees. Like his home road splits are insane, and they're on the road this week. The other thing is that the wind speeds in this game are supposed to be around 30 miles per hour with gusts potentially up to 50 miles an hour. Like normally we don't put too much stock into that kind of thing, but that's significant. Like Ben even came out and said he was like working with like a QB specialist to try and like get more spin on his throws this week so they're not as affected by the wind. So it's like the over under like started off at like 49 points. It's gone down to 44 and a half. I still think Pittsburgh should win, but like we know their capability to just lay an egg on the road sometimes.
Yes,
And it feels like maybe that could happen this week in a game with such high wind speeds. I don't know.
Fair enough. I mean, now that I hear it, I feel dumb knowing about the wind speed. But yeah, I mean, take away the wind speed, I like Big Ben even with the home road split.
Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, that's the thing that's getting me off of him completely is just like the wind, and I think they're going to try and run the ball a ton. But Le'Veon's the best play of the week.
There you go.
Without a doubt. I mean, the guy gets 9 targets a game, which is like more than most wide receivers. And then on top of that, he's carrying the ball 20 times a game.
Yep, and the Browns give up an average of 31.8 rushing attempts per game. So that kind of sounds like a rest. High wins, really good running back, really bad defense. Number one player overall there, Le'Veon Bell.
D'Angelo Williams is out too. So if you were concerned at all about like the Steelers just being like, well, we don't want to like risk hurting Bell this week. No, like they're going to run him. They're going to run him a lot.
Hell yeah, not going to happen. So Antonio Brown, you're starting him if you own him.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there anybody else in this game that you care about for the Steelers side?
No, I did. I was mildly intrigued in Eli Rogers and then in Ladarius Green, potentially upping his snaps there. But again, I don't want to try and target these secondary receivers in a game where the win's going to be that significant.
Fair enough. Yeah, tight end I'm definitely out on. I really liked Eli Rogers, and I was going to go on a rant about how I liked him until I heard about the wind speed. So I'm going to side with you here. And we'll just scrap these little notes I have written on Eli Rogers. Let's talk about the Browns on the other side of the ball. Let's go right to the running game. Isaiah Crowell, Duke Johnson. Do you trust either of them in this game?
I think Crowell's a decent play. I think he's a guy that you can start. For the first time really this year, last week, he actually outsnapped Duke. So he's been outworking him, like out carrying him, but he was up to 60% snaps last week. I believe he had 4 or 5 targets. I forget exactly which. So Crowell's not just like the guy who's going to get goal line and rushing down work. Now he's kind of taking more of a well-rounded role, and Pittsburgh's run defense hasn't been good. We're not talking about an elite defense here. And again, if the weather is as it seems like it's going to be, I would think Hugh Jackson would be trying to keep the ball out of Cody Kessler's hands as much as possible. So I like Crowell this week. Do you like either of them or?
Yeah, I side with Crowell. I mean, like you said, Duke Johnson, we watched, his receptions, everything else dropped. Crowell's gotten more involved as a receiver. That's enough to put me immediately off Duke Johnson and go for the upside of Crowell between the two of them.
Fair enough.
Wide receivers, Pryor and Coleman. I'm cool with Terrell Pryor, even with the wind speeds, to roll him out there. Coleman, I don't think he's done anything to suggest that he can be viewed as trustworthy at this point since coming back, and the wind speeds are just going to push me off really anybody else.
Yeah, it's a really low floor play. Again, I feel like I have like these sneaking suspicions about this game where like Coleman might get used a lot close to the line of scrimmage, and like he's so athletic, maybe he'll take a screen pass like and bust it. But that's not something that you should really be, like making your decisions off of, is like a sneaking suspicion of me that he's going to take a long screen pass.
Absolutely. If the sneaking suspicions would lead to our matchups being like 40 points would win. So we'll play some more sure bets. That's all I got in this game. Same for you.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right. And can I assume we're both taking the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers.
Yeah, as am I. We'll sweep it through. Let's talk Miami at the Rams. Let's start with QB for the Dolphins, Tannehill. The Rams have held 7 of 9 quarterbacks they faced to fantasy finishes of QB 16 or worse. I know he played well against the Chargers, but I don't want any part of Tannehill. There's better options.
No, I feel like there's only 2 guys you can play in this game. It's Ajayi and Gurley, right?
Yeah, 100%. My Rams notes say all Rams but Gurley must sit.
And even Gurley's like not a good play,
No,
it's just, yeah, but like you're probably playing him. And Ajayi, despite the disappointing week last week, Damian Williams got 2 touchdowns. Like Ajayi's going to be fine.
Yep, I agree. I think we just summed that up in like less than 45 seconds. I'm going to take Dolphins.
Yes, I'm going to do the same thing.
All right, sweep it through. Let's move on to the Patriots at the San Francisco 49ers.
Actually, can I change my pick to the Browns for the Steelers-Browns?
Yeah, man, you got it.
I'm gonna act on like my stupid hunches, and I say the Browns are gonna win this week.
All right, man. Getting behind the Browns is always a dangerous proposition, but I respect it. I respect it. Let's talk about New England at the San Francisco 49ers. And we'll start with QB Tom Brady. Slightly banged up. He's on the injury report with a thigh injury, but you own Tom Brady. You're starting Tom Brady, right?
Yes, correct.
All right.
Definitely doing that.
Running back, LeGarrette Blount has remained extremely viable and very, very good for fantasy owners. I think they're just going to feed him the ball, and I think we always say you start running backs against the 49ers, despite David Johnson being a little bit of a letdown on the ground.
Yeah, Blunt's a great play this week. You should be playing him. I'm interested to see where the targets go with Gronk out and Hogan's out. I think Bennett and Edelman are must starts, and I'm like mildly considering throwing a little bit of Amendola in places.
Okay.
But I don't really know if that's a smart play, because we also don't know if Dion Lewis is going to play. He's not on the injury report, but he was a surprise inactive last week. Does some of the targets go to him? Does James White, there's a lot of moving pieces here that are difficult to decipher.
Yeah, I agree. Amendola is really, if you just really want to throw a dart and hope he hits, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Really, the only certainty is that Brady's going to throw the ball and LeGarrette Blount's going to carry the ball, likely for a few touchdowns.
Yeah, pretty much. That's about it.
All right, that's the Patriots in a nutshell. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. And Colin Kaepernick has been legit back-to-back weeks. Do you expect him to be a legit streaming option here again against the Patriots?
Yeah, because he can run. He's he's like Tyrod in that sense.
He's crazy.
Yeah, he's just like you remember when Tim Tebow was like a viable sort of fantasy quarterback for a season.
Yep.
I mean, like, we don't need quarterbacks to be good. We just need them to put up fantasy points. Kaepernick does that. He's going to have plenty of opportunities to do that in this game, likely playing from behind. And then the other guy that I'm kind of on is Quentin Patton as a dart throw.
Okay.
He had 9 targets last week. He seems to be the receiver that Kaepernick has the most chemistry with. I've watched the Niners because I live out here, which is terrible. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But watching the Niners, not living here, it's a nice place to live. But I wouldn't recommend watching the Niners, but I've done it, and I think Quentin Patton has looked like his number one guy.
Okay. All right. What about Vance McDonald? Any interest there with some targets from Kaepernick or no?
Not really for me. I mean, I guess you could, but I think there are better tight end options.
Fair enough. Did we skip anybody in this game?
No, there's just not many good plays.
There we go. We're back-to-back games where we can move through pretty quick.
We can talk about Carlos Hyde, but you shouldn't play him is the answer to that.
There you go. Don't play him. That's as much as we need to talk about Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
Taking the Patriots.
Yeah, me too.
All right, sweep it on through. Let's talk about Philadelphia Eagles at the Seattle Seahawks. Let's start here with Seattle, Walsh, and let's start with Russell Wilson turning in consecutive good fantasy performances, which is the total opposite of what we saw really to start the season for Russell Wilson. And do you think it continues here? I think he has a nice game here.
Yeah, I mean, he looks healthy. You know, he looks like Russell Wilson that we've seen in previous seasons, where he's extending plays with his legs. He's getting outside of the pocket, avoiding the pass rushers. That's the Russell Wilson who's like a great fantasy producer that we know and love. Yeah, I think it continues. The Eagles' defense is pretty good, but Russell Wilson at his healthiest and at his best is very, very, very good. So I think you can play him, and I think you can play Baldwin and Graham since they're the two primary pass catchers.
I agree on both pass catchers. So let's talk about the running backs quick. You know, we watched Christine Michael, who, you know, we had talked about a bunch on the podcast, get cut. And, you know, Thomas Rawls coming back. But CJ Prosise logged career highs in touches and snaps last week. So do you believe Prosise is the guy? I don't think Rawls is ready here for a big workload to immediately take over.
Yeah, I think Prosise is a very good start this week. I agree with you. I think they're going to try and ease Rawls back in after they really tried to bring him back too quickly earlier in the season. If I were the Seahawks, I wouldn't want to make that mistake twice. And you don't really need a ton of Rawls here because Prosise has looked really good.
Yes.
So, you know, if you're the Seahawks and you're being smart, you're playing a lot more Prosise than Rawls tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else on the Seahawks side of the ball?
No.
All right, let's talk about the Eagles side of the ball. Carson Wentz. I know you got a nice little fantasy name there, playing off Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
You don't sound happy at all.
No. I made a lot of bad decisions last week. Carson Wentz was one of them.
Yeah, he's been bad. QB in the 20s really over the last 5 games, and I don't think he turns it around here against the Seahawks. Bad play.
No, I actually think you can sit every single Eagle in this game. I don't think you need to play any of them.
Okay. Wow. I can't argue.
We don't know what the running back production is going to look like, who it's going to come from. The Seahawks have been pretty good against pass catching running backs. So like you're kind of hoping Matthews just like gets a touchdown, you know, and like Sproles gets enough targets that he can put together like 5 catches for 25 yards or some shit like that in PPR. I don't think Jordan Matthews is a good play against, you know, the Seahawks secondary. He's been pretty good against bad secondaries, but not against good ones. And then, I mean, I guess you can roll Zach Ertz out there. He's gotten a lot more targets over the past 2 weeks, but I have never gotten Zach Ertz right ever in my life. And I don't have any confidence in trying to predict what Doug Peterson is going to do with him here.
Fair enough. So no one gets Zach Ertz right ever. So if people were talking about playing Zach Ertz here, bad idea, guys. No Eagles. Seahawks win this game. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Sweep that through. We blew through like three games there because it just
because they all sucked. They were just like bad.
Not a lot of fantasy production.
Yeah. This one's going to be fun.
All right, let's start here. Green Bay at the Washington Redskins. Let's start with the Green Bay Packers, Walsh. Aaron Rodgers, we've seen him bounce back and play well, really well. What do you expect here from Green Bay?
Is that me?
That was me, sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. Let's just leave that in because I think that'll be funny. All right,
yeah,
I expect I expect Green Bay to throw the ball a ton here, which is not great because Washington's run defense has been bad. Their pass defense has been pretty good, but Green Bay can't run the ball. I mean, they have James Starks back. Like they only ran him like 7 times last week. I don't think that's really something that we need to worry about too much. You're playing Rodgers. I think you probably are playing Starks just because he got 4 targets in the pass game last week. So he may get used in that. And again, Washington's run defense is bad. But am I wrong in saying are the top 3 wide receivers here are all in play for Green Bay?
No, you're not wrong at all. I think you're playing them, and I mean, we'll see if it becomes like a Jordy Nelson 3-touchdown game or Randall. We never really know how it's going to break out, but I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, Jordy's going to probably draw Josh Norman, which is bad, but he's been getting such insane volume the past couple of weeks that I don't think it matters.
No.
And then Adams has been playing great to the surprise of I think a lot of people.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. It might just be like he finally found the chemistry with Rodgers and like they're just going from there. But and Cobb theoretically draws the best matchup in the slot. That's where Washington's been able to be or been a little bit vulnerable in the past game this year. So I think Cobb, despite his recent numbers, makes for a nice play as well.
I have no argument against any of the Packers analysis, Walsh. None at all. Let's talk, I guess, Washington Redskins. I know you were playing Kirk Cousins this week, right?
Yeah, I'm on Kirk this week.
Yeah, and I agree. He's going to be a great play. He's been hot. I think he stays hot. It's going to be really a shootout of a game. Multiple touchdown passes in 3 straight home games. So cool with Kirk Cousins. Roll him out there. Sucks to say since I'm playing you, but for everybody else, do it with Kirk Cousins. Running backs. Matt Jones, the healthy scratch last week. I never liked that guy. Go back to even a year ago. I always bashed him. So seeing him be a healthy scratch is not a surprise to me. So, well, if you're looking at Rob Kelly here, he dominated the Week 10 backfield, and Chris Thompson mixed in. He had 7 touches on 33% of the downs. Kelly, I think he's a running back too here.
Yeah, he's a little bit worrisome for me because he doesn't really get usage in the pass game, and also because Clay Matthews is expected to come back this week, and he was really sort of the demarcation. Like his injury was sort of what separated the Packers from just being like a bad defense and being like god awful. So it's I'm a little bit worried because of that, but you're right. You can't sit him because his production has been great, and the Washington's expected to score a lot of points here, which means he's going to have a chance for touchdowns. That's what we're looking for when we're starting Fat Rob here.
Absolutely, no argument at all. And then, sorry, I just totally lost my place in my notes. I'm trying to reset myself.
That's okay. We can talk about the receivers there. Okay, cool. Djax is a game time decision, but it seems like he's going to play.
Oh, really?
I don't think. Yeah, that's what I read today. I don't think you should start him because if he's a game time decision, like he would likely just kind of be a decoy out there, rather than someone they're looking to really feature. I think you can play Crowder, Reed, and Garcon.
I'm cool with that. Crowder's been good. He's gotten the targets. Garcon should have a nice week because I expected Djax to not play. So even if he does go as a game time decision, like you said, I think he's a decoy. He's a wash, quite frankly.
Yeah. It might like decrease the target expectation a little bit for guys like Garcon, but I don't think it matters too much.
Yep, I completely agree. And you're playing Jordan Reed. That's what you do.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we know he's good. He occasionally has down weeks because Kirk likes to spread the ball around, but this is going to be a shootout. There's going to be a lot of yards in this game, a lot of touchdowns. So get everyone in there pretty much. Yep. No questions except Matt Jones, guys. Yeah, except Matt Jones. Don't play that guy.
Definitely don't. We all hated him. I'm going to take the Redskins.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Redskins too. I think they're legit.
I do as well. Big game here. Lots of fantasy points to go around. And then, Walsh, let's go to Monday Night Football. The Oakland Raiders versus the Houston Texans. Take it away.
Well, first of all, the game's in Mexico City, so I'm going to wear a sombrero the whole time. That's not true. I don't own a sombrero. But if I did, I would probably wear it. Now we're towing the line of racial sensitivity. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Anyway, basically, Oakland in this game, I think the best play is Latavius Murray. The Texans defense has been rough against the run, and their corners are pretty good. Their pass defense is pretty solid. I believe AJ Bouye, their number one corner, is going to play after missing last week. That's likely one of the reasons Allen Robinson was able to go off because Bouye wasn't in there. So if he plays, we've got the matchups are a little bit rough for Cooper and Crabtree. I think they're both still starts. I don't think you need to start Derek Carr. I think you can, but it's not really a necessary start, and it's not the best start. His best games have really come in like these shootouts where it's back and forth the whole time, and Houston's bad. So this is really looking more like a game where the Raiders might be able to control it from the outset.
Yeah, I have nothing to add on the Raiders, as I expected from our Raiders expert. Yeah, I have no insight on the Raiders at all. I think you nailed it. Latavius Murray, play him. He's been a machine. Again, he finds the end zone. I don't get it.
He does. That's one of those things where we can be like, well, if he doesn't get the touchdowns, but it's like the Raiders score a lot of touchdowns and they use him inside the 5. So I don't see why he would stop getting touchdowns unless the Raiders offense like really starts being bad.
Yeah, he's going to get his touchdowns. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. Houston Texans, bad team. Just in general. Brock Osweiler, I want no part of. Fair?
Yeah, very fair.
Very fair. Cool. Lamar Miller. You're starting Lamar Miller.
Yeah, I mean, he's quietly been very efficient over the past couple of weeks after being relatively inefficient for the beginning of the season. I would expect them to try and use him a lot, even if they get down, just because Osweiler, like, you don't want the ball in his hands. He's bad.
Yep. And I mean, even if they were throwing it, DeAndre Hopkins doesn't have a great matchup. I mean, he's been bad, but he doesn't have a great matchup against your guys there either. So I would hope good game for Lamar Miller. Hopefully he finds the end zone. I mean, that's kind of been his Achilles heel, is he's not in the end zone as much as I think everyone had hoped he would be this year in particular. So
yeah,
DeAndre Hopkins, he's a wide receiver 3 for me, I guess.
He's a borderline start, like, if you need to, but like if you have better options, use them. You don't need to be afraid to sit DeAndre Hopkins here. And it's worth noting that Will Fuller is a game time decision. I don't think you should, like, so I was tempted to like, if he was going to be a full go this week, to maybe go after it, because the Raiders have struggled against small, fast receivers and been good against big physical receivers. Okay. So it would have been the better matchup with him and Hopkins. But if he's a game time decision, don't do it. There's no real need. And he's probably not going to be at 100% if he plays.
Yep, I agree. The only one that, in the passing game for me is tight end Fedorowicz. I'm okay with that.
It's fine, but there are better guys. Like, there's Ebron, there's Julius Thomas. I might play Kyle Rudolph over Fedorowicz. I don't know. But it's not necessary, but if you have to do it, you have to do it.
Yep, I completely agree. There's nobody else in this game. You agree?
No. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, Walsh, I'm taking the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Raiders too. Raiders are going to win the Super Bowl. This is great.
All right. Well, let's not get carried away, but I will give you the Raiders win. The AFC West, man, it's crazy. Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos. It's going to be a hell of a run to the playoffs.
Yeah, great division. Absolutely. AFC West and the NFC East are just like fun divisions. They're definitely the two best, it seems like, this year. So that's enjoyable.
They're going to be fun to watch all the way down. So we'll see what happens. But that does it for the preview, guys. Let's jump into 2 questions that we have here from readers, Walsh. First one comes in from Alexander. He says, which of the 3 would you start this week? Jarvis Landry, Jordan Matthews, Steve Smith, Randall Cobb, Rashard Matthews?
For me, it's the last 3. It's Steve Smith, Randall Cobb, and Rashard Matthews. We went through, I don't think Jarvis Landry is really a guy that you should be starting with the Dolphins' sort of new identity as this team that runs the ball more. It's not a great matchup against the Rams. Jordan Matthews, I don't like the matchup. He's killed it in favorable matchups and been kind of non-existent in bad matchups. The other 3, I think we both kind of agreed that we liked a little bit.
Yeah, I think especially Randall Cobb and Rashard Matthews, we talked up significantly. Steve Smith, when he's healthy, plays well. So I think those are the clear 3 picks here for you, Alexander. From Philip, he says, should I start Fedorowicz against Oakland or Brate against Kansas City? For me, it's Fedorowicz. You may have better options, as we just discussed, but between those 2, that's Fedorowicz. Yeah,
I agree. If you can avoid starting tight ends against Kansas City, you should do it. So it's Fedorowicz.
All right, Philip. Good luck with that one. Check your waiver wire. We just threw a bunch of other names out there. You may not have to play Fedorowicz. If you're feeling lucky, Kyle Rudolph. You heard it here first from Walsh. So it may work out. It may blow up in your face.
Roll the Rudolph dice.
There you go. Spin that fucking wheel, Philip. Spin that. Yeah, that's all we got, guys. Sorry for the delayed preview here this week, but we got it out, and there's no excuse. You got plenty of time to listen and get those winning lineups in there. So enjoy another week of football, guys. And I'm Nick Schreck. Let's talk fantasy football here with Nick Walsh. We will catch you on the flip side.